Hey Janet, how you doing?
Hi, Roland. I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. It's good. Mulholland is going to take this opening section that we've just spent 5 weeks in, and he's now going to interpret all of that conversation in terms of practices and applications for discipleship. So the next part's very practical. This section, this is part two of the book, and it's 3 chapters, but it all very much deals with the same basic issue. And
Mhm.
so we're going to pull them together because we're going to try and move through this latter part of the book and capture it all in about the same time frame as we
Right.
did the first section. And he makes this wonderful appeal to the recognition that our spiritual journey is deeply entrenched in our psychological journey, that there is a psychological health, robustness, for want of a better term, that is very much a part of our spiritual journey. And I do want to say this, Janet, when we first met and we started engaging in conversation, it was one of the things that immediately invited me into feeling like we were about to have a very deep friendship. And that was this, that you have made the pursuit of your life uh, psychological science as an academic endeavor. It's a very high uh, value to you to be excellent in that place, and you've done extraordinarily well. But in that
Thank
place, you you allow that to be subordinate to your awareness of what God is doing in your life personally, not objectively through to others. You do that very, very well, but in your own life, your deliberate commitment to allowing God to transform you spiritually was incredibly evident in our
you.
conversations. So your competency and your professionalism and your excellence in the psychology space was really fun for me to engage with, but your commitment to making that a part of your spiritual journey, not at odds with it, was what really pulled me into a deep
Oh,
friendship. And
thank
I'm
you.
learning from you in that space. And I thank you for being that person.
Thank you. We're learning from each other in that space, and we have wonderful conversations. I love that you get excited about the same things that I do. So we can be nerds together, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. He speaks to Jung's approach to personality, and that Myers Briggs built on in the personality profile, um, and he sees that as a very helpful tool for addressing the issue of spirituality.
Wonderful.
And I know that that's been a part of your academic journey, and maybe you'd like to speak to that. But I want to give you a few minutes to unpack the importance of personality, well, in life in general, understanding personality in life in general, but also in spirituality as we move forward. So just want to give you that space as we begin this time
Yeah.
together.
Well, personality research is one of the things that led me to get a clinical psychology degree. Actually, I love thinking about who we are, why we do what we do, how we're put together, and looking at the individual differences in that, right? Because there's a beauty in our individual differences, and there's a sense of completion that comes when we come together, if you will, right? Um, Reflects the body of Christ, I think, in a really cool way.
Right,
And then it's just fun to help people explore their personality, but also help them to see that other people are just wired differently,
right,
and it's
right.
not bad or good, it's just different. And I
Yeah,
think that one of the things that the Myers-Briggs test does is it helps you to very quickly get a sense of your personality, but also to get a sense of how people might be different than you, right?
I was well into my 30s before I probably started to appreciate the truth that not everyone is exactly like me and choosing to be oppositional to me, but essentially sees the world the same way. I think I just presume that everyone sees the world the same way, and the reason that you're acting differently is because you've got a problem. And it might very well be that you're just trying to annoy me. The discovery that people are actually built differently and see reality differently it took me a while to process. It was overwhelmingly wonderful, but it was a revelation, and so that's actually what
How are
this
you
speaks.
doing that? How are you not seeing it
That's
this
right. How do you
way?
not see this? How do you not see this? Why is that important to you? It's not important. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
so this theory that he's bringing up is based on the work of Carl Jung, who is a psychoanalyst, and he believed that these personality dimensions exist in a continuum. And on each continuum, right, there are two polar opposites, and that people fall somewhere between the two polar opposites. And he believed that usually one of the sides of those polar opposites is what you show to the world, and the other side is what you kind of push down into your unconscious. And so he would say it was your shadow self, right? And so that's what this test does. It takes four different continuums, and then it says on each one, which half of it are you showing to the world? Which half of it is your strength,
Right.
right?
So it's not about you are this and not that. It's about how you live outwardly and how you operate inwardly.
Right, right. Now, the problem is that the shadow self is the part of us that we don't like, right? So it's essentially we're making a choice. We're choosing, we have a preference for one way of being in the world, and that other way we've pushed down and we don't typically, unless we have to or we're intentional, we don't deal with it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So,
That's really
so
interesting.
these four continuum, let me walk through them. The first one is really about energy. It's where you get your energy, but people will think about it as being social. And it's this, the polar opposites are extroversion and introversion, right? So extroverted people, they get their energy from outside stimulation. They love to engage with people. They love things to go on, are going on. These are the people who, like, when they're driving, they turn up the radio loud and they want to talk to somebody at the same time, and they're fine in that situation. Like the more input, the better, right? And they get energized and they get excited. Introverts, like myself, we can be social. I know a lot of times people think, oh no, introverts aren't social. That's not true. We can be social, right? A lot of times we're not, but we can be. We tend to prefer deeper conversations. We tend to prefer being around one or two people. But the reason is that more than that is overstimulating and wears us out. And so introverts like quiet time, they like alone time, they like smaller groups of people because that's where they get their energy, right? Um, so if
Yeah, that
that
was a
makes sense.
revelation to me because I discovered that I am an introvert. Um, but when I say to people that I'm an introvert, they say you can't possibly be, and that's because I'm always
Yeah.
up emotionally when I'm in a social setting. Uh, but that requires effort, right? And so if I get and Emmy can tell you, if I get a chance to be alone, that's like heaven to me. To be alone and lost in my own thoughts. So yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a social introvert. Like I love people, but I need my downtime where Kevin is, I would say, more of a shy extrovert. He's not going to initiate a lot of social contact, but when he gets it, his energy goes up
So this
almost.
that what you're describing
Yeah.
there is exactly that continuum, right? And so
Mhm.
we can operate anywhere along that continuum. We have a way that we see ourselves, and then clearly in my case, a way other people might see us. But that's not because we're dysfunctional. That's because we're operating somewhere in
Yeah.
that continuum,
Yeah.
going backwards and
And
forwards.
some people are more extreme on that than other people.
Right,
I'm probably
right.
pretty close to the middle. But we have one of our sons, he is like an an introvert off the scale, you know? And so it's just so we're both introverts, but he is way more an introvert than I am.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's a helpful one to start with because it shows you what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one is a little bit harder to understand is how I get information about the world around me. And it's the difference between being intuitive or being sensing. And those words pretty much do mean what they say that what they say that they are. So people who are intuitive, it's like they read between the lines,
Mm.
right? They can pick up on things that aren't there. They're looking for the meaning that's behind what's seen, right? They're always doing that kind of process, right? They look at a painting and they go, "Wow, that speaks of hope," and it's, that kind of thing. I'm a sensor. I'm on that side. And people who are sensing work through their five senses. And so they're looking for data, right? Through what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch, what you smell. That's your data. And then you make judgments based on the data. I'm a scientist, right? Like this makes sense. And so I can have kind of intuitive thoughts, but just ask me, and then I will give you all the data why I have that thought, right? An intuitive person probably will just say, well, I just know, I just feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're confident about that.
And they're confident because they know that they know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're intuitive, you think?
Yeah. Um, that's a tough one for me to evaluate. I very much am. I very much do intuit the real world. I'm very confident about my intuitions, but I also do like to see the facts, and I hate the idea that people are establishing their reality based on how they feel without any real evidence. So I don't know where it will. We'll have to explore
Maybe
that at
you're
some
close
stage.
to the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I definitely
So,
do enjoy it. I think I have a much greater confidence in my intuitions. But anyway,
yeah.
yeah,
The sensing person, by the way, if they look at that painting, they're going to say, "Oh, that's a really interesting use of blue. Oh, I see they also used yellow here, and I like how they created the shadow effect."
right, yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The, the third dimension is how we make decisions. And so people get this one wrong too. A lot of times they think it means something that it doesn't. But this is how do you make decisions? And thinkers use rationalization. They're like, we're going to follow reason. We're going to be logical. There's not a space for feelings in this. There's not a place for relationships. We're not going to care about those things. We're going to follow the reason, right? Feelers often will be said that they're emotional or that they're concerned only about relationship, and that's a misunderstanding of that. Feelers are value driven. So if their value is relationship,
Right.
they're very much relational. If their value are emotions, they are very emotion. But their value could be justice, and it will look much
Right.
like a thinker, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's I am a sensor. Or I'm sorry, I am a feeler, but I have a very strong sense of what is right. Right now, but the way that I understand right might be different than the way that a thinker understands right. And so, but I'm going to make decisions out of those values more so than logic and reason. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
pretty interesting, right?
Yeah,
And
very.
then the last one is the one that probably causes more marital problems than any other one.
Right.
And this is how we engage in our daily world. And um, and so this is the difference between judging and perceiving. Okay, those words don't make any sense for the description that I'm about to tell you, right? There's a
Right.
deeper
Okay.
reason why those words are there, but judgers are people who are very structured, organized. They like things to be predictable. They like things to happen in a certain way. They're always going to be on time. They're going to follow schedules. They're everything like that. Perceivers are people who are more spontaneous. They're going to do what they feel like doing in the moment or what catches their attention in the moment, right? I'm a perceiver, and my rule of life is schedules are great guidelines to follow if I should feel like it in the moment. Otherwise, I just don't care, right?
Right.
So, my husband, Kevin, is a judger. He's very structured, and this used to cause problems for us, like particularly after church on Sunday. What are we going to do? I would tell him one thing, but I'd wake up and not feel it, want to do something else. So he finally decided Sunday afternoons he blocked out in his mind. So he has a schedule and a plan. Our Janet's spontaneous time. And that's how he resolved the conflict.
This section of the book is really, I think, really important and valuable to read. I don't want to dismiss it at all. But the issues that he points to in this section are can be captured in a few ideas. Number one would be that the personality strengths that we have, and in terms of this study, the part that we find easy to show to the world, is probably the best place to position our spiritual journey,
Absolutely.
because we'll feel the most comfortable in that place. And he makes the point that uh, so many people are doing spiritual journeys that are prescribed by somebody else, and they're trying to follow that practice, but that person developed that practice in a way that fits in their personality.
So
So
I
that's
can
a
to that. Like as a
right.
as a perceiving person, I am never going to get up every morning and have my devotions at the same time in the same chair. It is never going to happen,
Right.
right?
And
And
how much
anytime I try to
condemnation
do
did
that,
you feel in your life because of that?
oh, it was awful, right? Because it feels like I'm a failure as a Christian. I had to learn how to do it in a way that fits my personality. Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that you said that, Jenna, because I think that's the point. And that's the point he's trying to make, right?
Right.
Uh, I have, because I am actually fairly motivated by achieving what people say is the right thing to do. I've spent big chunks of my life trying to carve out an hour and a half of it in a day where I'm reading scripture and praying, and I've done that for years, and found virtually no spiritual development, because the whole time I'm white knuckling through the hour and a half or hour and however long that is. I breathe this sigh of relief when I get to the goal because I've achieved it. And now I also get to get validated because I get to tell somebody else that I prayed for an hour today, right? But it's been nothing spiritually. Um, but you know what I discovered, Janet? It took me years to feel comfortable in this place. I actually pray and develop most effectively in two ways: when I'm driving or walking or whatever, and I find myself praying and I haven't even thought about it, or
Hmm.
I'm talking with people in friendships and like ours, and oh yeah, that's right, that's right, that's right. And so I make sure that I validate those processes for myself now.
Yeah.
So he makes the point that that's the place to settle. He also says, don't forsake the shadow side, because if you do, it will truncate your spiritual growth. And he makes 2 points about that. It'll slow the actual growth. It'll also create a place where you engage with the world and in practices that aren't healthy for you if you ignore your shadow side.
Let me give a really quick example of that. During COVID, I decided I was going to read through the Bible in a year, which required scripture reading every single day. Now, I had to do it where it wasn't the same time every day, but I did it every day, right? Like, this is incredible. This is not something someone like me does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it did. It was so important for my spiritual growth. Like, it
Yeah.
was a discipline that helped form and shape me in a new way. It mattered.
So they wrap up this place with um, a challenge to spend some time using your personality profile and
Mhm.
considering what works best for you, and going into a room or a space that works for you, and working out how to take this journey that fits for you. And I think that's a good place for us to be. Just be you, whoever you are that's watching this, be you. Find out who you are. Think about how that works best in our spirituality, and don't be condemned by other people's practices, but don't ignore them either, and
Right.
engage the whole thing.
I would say lean into your strengths, but don't
All
neglect
right.
your weaknesses, right?
Thanks very much, Jan. See you later.
Yeah.
See you next
See
time.
ya.